Good morning, YouTube. So this is my Home Assistant home power use display. Looking back here, you can see all the days here where we had excess power coming in. That's the blue region here that's below the zero line. Except back here a week ago, Saturday, this was different. So let's zoom in on that. This is about a week ago. In the morning when I got up, I noticed that the internet was out. I guess Comcast was having a major outage that day. At the time, I didn't know when it started or when it was going to end, but about 10:30 in the morning here, I was watching my diversion load code. I had noticed the lights on the Vera home automation controller were blinking, which it does when the internet is out. And I just wanted to see if it was all working okay. The power started going negative here. We got to 101 watts. I noticed that the diversion load wasn't kicking on. So I decided, okay, I'll just go out and turn off the grid tie function in the inverter until I can figure out what's going on. So I came back over here. This is the Vera controller display. So then I came in here to my P-Leg solar device. Everything was running okay, but these things here were all false. So this is my synchronize code, and I also have some other places down here where I update the diversion load, change the dimmer setting. And so everything was running, but it wasn't doing anything. It wasn't changing anything. I went over to the schedules. The way these schedules work is you specify when this schedule turns on and then when it turns off. So I have this daytime schedule here. I turn on all days of the week at SunRise, and I turn off at SunSet. And that's what that schedule does. It just says, hey, if the sun's up, that's when you get solar power. So that's when I have my code running. But what I found was this was false. And you can see it's actually false now. It turned on this morning at 5:50 a.m. That was the last true timestamp here. And that's SunRise. But then here it turned off at 7:25, and I did that manually. I toggled the state because I'm testing out a fix for this problem. What I noticed last Saturday was the last true timestamp was Friday morning, and this was Saturday, and the daytime schedule hadn't triggered. And then later in the afternoon, it was about 2:45, something like that, that the internet came back on. And all of a sudden, this thing went true all by itself. And then it finally clicked. I did some digging through some notification emails, and the internet had gone out about 4 a.m. in the morning, which was before sunrise. And it stayed off, like I said, till about 2:45 in the afternoon, when this finally went true. And then I realized that the daytime sunrise and sunset schedule needs internet connection to work. So let me show you over here. It's just easier to see the code here. This is my Notepad++ file. And so I brought my schedule over here. So I have my daytime schedule, and I added a note here that Sunrise and Sunset is internet dependent. Apparently there's a server someplace that the Vera controller goes out and says, hey, when's sunrise for my location? Because in the Vera you put your latitude and longitude, or you can put your zip code and address, and it'll figure out what time zone you're in and daylight savings time, and apparently sunrise, sunset. And I never knew that was internet dependent, but it makes sense. So anyway, to work around that, what I did was I said, let's make a fail-safe timer or schedule that turns on after the latest sunrise in the winter, and it turns off after the latest sunset in the summer. This is absolute time of day, so it shouldn't care about network connection. The controller has an internal clock. I think they synchronize it with a network time server probably once a day. It should work even if the network's not connected. So the program logic event generator has what they call sequence operators. And those basically say these events must have happened, either gone from false to true or from true to false if you use the negative sequence. And you can have them either in any order or you can have them ordered if you use semicolons. So you're basically saying this thing had to have happened and then sometime later this other event had to happen. Here's my normal start routine. If the daytime fail-safe timer is off, the fail-safe timer had turned off last night and it's still off, but then this morning the sun came up and the daytime schedule went true, if that sequence of operations happened, then I returned the daytime schedule status, and I put that into a conditional expression here. It's the same name, except I start with a C for conditional daytime. This is schedule daytime with the S. And then the fail-safe startup is if the daytime timer is false, the sun set last night, daytime went false, and if the internet was out, it didn't go true at SunRise, followed by the daytime fail-safe timer turning on at 7:30, then this thing should turn on. And in that case, I return the state of the fail-safe timer. And then likewise for shutting off, I say the fail-safe timer has to still be on, but the daytime sunset went false. So that's the normal shut off. And then if none of those is true, it does the fail-safe shut off. Let's go to the conditions here. Like I said, I turned this off this morning at 7:25, and then the fail-safe timer, I turned it off at 8:45, and then I turned it back on. I'd missed the 7:30 time, so I turned it off, turned it back on with the daytime timer manually turned off. So I'm trying to simulate what would happen if the internet was out. So you can see down here, here's my daytime conditional expression. That's when I shut off the daytime schedule. So that was 7:25. And then later, I turned the fail-safe timer off at 8:45, and then I turned it back on at 8:47, and then this code ran and set true. But yeah, I think this is working. I've been testing this for a few days now. The normal turn on works. This is the fail-safe turn on. And then the normal shutdown works. I haven't tested the fail-safe turn off. So yeah, I put all those code changes in there. The diversion load kicked on this morning just as normal. Yeah, so here's the solar assistant display. And the red here is the grid power. It went negative there. So this guy is up and running. I'm trying to control the total house power down to around 50 watts. I think 48 is my target. Okay, so this is the following morning here. Yesterday I had turned off the daytime schedule, and now today it started up normally here. Fired at 5:50 this morning, and this was when I turned it off yesterday at 7:25 in the morning. So that stayed there, and the fail-safe timer turned on at 7:30, and it turned off at 8:45, just like it's supposed to. So here's my conditional daytime expression, and you can see here this morning it turned on at 5:50, which is the normal sunrise time, and last night it turned off at 8:45. So that was my fail-safe timer expiring there at 8:45 because I had the daytime schedule. I had already manually turned that off, so that would simulate having the internet connection down past sunset. Yeah, so I think this code here is working okay. I've updated my Notepad++ file to reflect that change. Did take a little bit of time to figure this out. Took me a few days to kind of work out the logic. And with this, you have to get into the event-driven mode because, again, these are events, and these sequence operators depend on the time that these schedules went true or false, not the current state. It's what time did the last change happen. And what I did here over in my Notepad++ file, I kind of drew this out as a little waveform here. So this would represent midnight to midnight on the same day. The daytime schedule is going to go true at varying times during the year. So that represents these upward transitions. There'll only be one of them, but it's going to be at different times. And the same way with the sunset. And then I have this fail-safe timer that turns on after the latest sunrise, and it turns off after the latest sunset. This is where it gets a little bit confusing because since I turned this daytime schedule off here, it never went off again yesterday. It was off at 7:25 in the morning, and it stayed off all day, but there was never an event of the daytime schedule turning off prior to this one turning on, because the only time this condition gets evaluated is if one of these two schedules changes. And if the daytime schedule didn't change, it's never going to evaluate any of these sequences. So you have to wait until this timer changes, and then it'll drop through here and it'll say, oh, this one went from true to false. It would fall through all of these cases because daytime was false, none of these other sequences work, and it falls through, here's the else. Well, the only thing that makes sense is use the fail-safe timer because it's none of the known conditions, so it falls through. So I've tested this case down here, this else. It takes a while to get your head wrapped around these sequences, and like the developer of this P-leg environment, so one of his sayings is, if something goes true, that's the event, that it went true, but it's not going to be truer because it remains true or it remains false. It goes true or false once, and then it stays true or false until it changes again. And so something like this, if none of these schedules ever changed again, this code would never get run. The only time this code runs is if one of these two timers changes. Normally, the daytime timer will change first, and then that normal sequence will operate. But anyway, hopefully that makes sense. It takes a while to wrap your head around how all these things work. But yeah, this is, I think, the first time I've used multiple sequence expressions in series, basically. And you have to do it this way, like I say, because there's no line breaks. You've got to do all of these in one line. And that's basically what I do here, is I just have to jam all of these into one long expression. That's what it's called, program logic event generator. So I'm generating events based on other events and trying to make a synthetic daytime schedule that's independent of the internet connection and the actual daytime thing running. So yeah, now I know how to fix up my other schedules if I want to get those going again. So I could do the same thing here for my morning schedule, afternoon schedule. I know how to fix those. Yeah, I think that's all working fine. I guess I'm gonna leave it here. And yeah, if you have any questions about that, post up in the comments section below. And as always, thanks for watching.